Our end goal is to be competitive. We want people to be able to walk in here and buy material at a competitive price. We want to make up any difference. We can feel like we can do it with our knowledge and with our service.
You are playing a decades and centuries game. You're not worried about just tomorrow and what the P&L says at the end of the month, because you know that it's got to be about everything going forward decades and decades later. What excites you the most about the future of Cofer Brothers?
The next generation. I had that opportunity. It came a little sooner than I wanted it because my dad passed away when he was 70. It's so rewarding. I really enjoy what I do. I love coming in here. I love being around the people. The best part about my job is I get to work with my family every day. I've got 3 nephews that work here. My daughter works here. I'm so blessed to be surrounded with so many family members that help me in so many ways.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast, the show for bold builders, brand leaders, and legacy makers in the construction and building industry. I'm your host, Stephanie Couch, and I've been in this industry my entire life. Whether we're breaking down what's working in sales and marketing, new advances in AI and automation, or interviewing top industry leaders, you're going to get real-world strategies to grow your business, build your brand, and lead your team. Let's get to work. Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Couch, and today I'm on site at Cofer Brothers with owner Chip Cofer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to be here. This is a family-owned lumberyard, which is my favorite thing in the world, and you guys have been open a long time. So tell me a little bit about Cofer Brothers and the history.
Yeah, we started in 1919 with my grandfather and my great uncle when they were just dyed-in-the-wool retailers.
Yep.
So we started off in what back then they called it the dry goods, which was a lot of household type items and farm items and so on and so forth. And we got into the grocery business. And then we actually had, as the business grew, this was a stopping off point between Loganville, Snellville, and Decatur, was Tucker. So that's how we ended up in Tucker. And then as the business got larger, we opened more stores. A lot of times family members went to run other stores, and either it was a, make it or don't kind of mentality. And then my dad, after World War II, and he decided that he thought it was good to be into the building supply side of the business because there were so many homes being built. So we started off with a lot of masonry products and so on and so forth, and then grew into some lumber items, and then he decided to bring it over here on this piece of property and open up a full building material store against the wishes of my grandfather, by the way. But he opened this up and got it going. And then we but shortly after that, we got it down to just where we had 2 stores, and which was this and the department store, we called it across the railroad. And we liquidated that in the 70s because of North Lake Mall was going to open, and there's no way we could compete with that. Yeah. So liquidated that. Then all we have is the building material. And there we have just had this one store all these years, and we've been very much concentrated on the eastern side of Atlanta, basically, and just had a really, we've built this business on having good relationships with builders and family builders and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and you guys are right in downtown Main Street, Tucker. You're a landmark here in this town, and I'm sure it's changed a lot even since you've been here. When did you start in the business, and tell me about your evolution? Because I know you started in your favorite place, which is out in operations on the lumberyard. So tell me a little bit about your background in the lumber business.
So growing up, we lived about 2 miles from here at the most, maybe about 2 miles. And I rode my bicycle everywhere. So I would come up here after school sometimes, definitely on Saturdays, because we worked on Saturdays, and just do anything I could, usually something with an engine, like a forklift or a golf cart, or do something. I just love being up here, love doing the different things that makes, that the business does to operate. So I love being outside. I love getting to know the guys. And I'd ride on a truck and help them unload it. We had a couple of larger trucks. I'd ride on them and do the same thing. And so I just grew up doing this. This is what I've done. I've had a couple other jobs, but this is really this is what I love doing. Yeah. And it's just been.
It's hard to get out of it once you get in.
It really is.
And we have sort of an interesting connection. So we actually My family also had a lumberyard in a different near East Point near the airport. And my dad used to come pick up some stuff here and they exchanged materials
Oh,
a
yeah.
few times and stuff. So my granddad also had a lumberyard in Atlanta. And it's something really special about the fact that you guys are still here, still doing this. 105 years, is that the right count?
1919.
1919. So I love that your family is also taking this over. So a lot of lumber businesses, you have succession planning and you don't know what's going to happen, but you guys have a plan. Tell me a little bit about the next generation.
I've got 3 nephews that work here. My daughter works here and full time. And so they're here to learn as much as they can. And I want to retire someday or get into some kind of a semi-retirement. So they're coming on and they're learning as much. And we spend as much time as we possibly can trying to show them how we do things, why we do things. And a lot of it's is a modification from what I'm sure my grandfather taught my father taught me.
Sure.
So, you change with the times as much as you can, but you embrace some of the new technology, some of the new social media. You embrace that as much as you can, but I think it's important to remember your roots too and find that balance because it's there. You just have to find it and get everybody to buy into it and be okay with it. I have to bend a little bit and they have to bend a little bit and that's how we get through it.
Yeah, and some of the ideas are a mix, like you said, of the old and the new. And
yes.
That's what I love about this business so much is what makes it so great. It probably won't ever change. The people, the service, the way that people care about what we're doing, the actual craft of building homes and building community and making things for people to live the American dream, that's never going to change. But how we do it, how we go to market, whether you're online or in the store, that might change in the future. So embracing that's great.
Agreed. I think there's a lot of things in our business, at least what I've seen so far, that AI cannot,
absolutely
duplicate or copy. I think there's a lot of things that it's going to could possibly make it better.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of just, and we try to practice the golden rule. I mean, just treat people like you want to be treated. It's really not that difficult. And just, I try to always be available. I try to always smile at people, make them feel comfortable to come here and want to come back because we've all been in other stores. We've all been to bigger stores and different stores. And when you don't feel like you're welcome there and you feel like you're an outsider, you just don't really care about going back.
Yeah.
And I just want to make it where people enjoy. It sounds cliche, but I just want people to enjoy their experience at Cofer Brothers.
Absolutely. And you guys do a lot of that with your employees too, trying to promote from within.
Oh, absolutely.
And moving people through the organization and training. What does the word leadership mean to you? And what do you think it means every day to your employees that are here and your team members?
Setting the example. Just setting the example. I've always been one to, I don't ever ask anybody to do something that I either haven't done or won't do. I think it's very important for anybody with male or female, doesn't matter, when you're not in management. So I don't like the words that you can use for people that aren't in management, but I think it's very important for those people to know that you're here, you're vested, you're in it, and you will do whatever it takes to make sure that you get through this, that you're going to lead this company and there's going to be a place for them. Because that's what they want. They want to know that they've got a future here. And when you've got a business that's small, we can't offer, it's hard to offer some of the stellar things that are thrown out to people that the companies that are so much bigger or government jobs or whatever. But so you have to just, you have to figure out another way to do it. And just to make people feel special. And
you can feel that when we were walking through the yard and you have your team, you can feel that energy here. And it's very obvious when I've come in here multiple times that you guys have something that they can walk in your office and talk to you, and it's no big deal. It's just another day.
Right.
And you're breeding that into the next generation, and your customers feel it and your people feel it. So I think that's cool. And that's why this business is still here 105 years later, and hopefully it'll be here another 105 years.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your actual business. So what do you guys love to sell? Who are you selling to? Because you have a little different model because you're here in Atlanta, which is where the studios are, but you guys are in the contractor builder business. You also sell to homeowners. Tell me about that a little bit.
I think a lot of the if there's a business mentality to follow, it's just being quick on your feet, and don't try to funnel down too much. Try to keep a broad base as well as you can. You can't be everything to everybody, but you can be a lot to a lot of people. And our history goes back to single family home builders. A lot of them they were second and third generation.
Yeah.
And we had a long history with them. And we always had a saying about, or a inner working within ourselves here, be careful if you say something to somebody or talk about somebody, because you don't know who's related. You don't know who's this and who's that.
Yeah,
so
that could be someone's cousin.
That's right. You could be saying something about somebody's brother-in-law or cousin or whatever that to get you in trouble. So you have to be, you have to treat everybody with utmost respect. But and we've been through so many, ebbs and flows in the market, and we'll call it depressions, recessions, whatever. Yeah. But when 2009 and 10 came, and that was probably the worst years we've had.
Dark days in Atlanta.
Yes, in this century. And we have it's factual. We've never laid off anybody for slow business. And so I'm trying to figure out, how we're going to walk through this.
Sure.
I don't want to be the third generation. I don't want to be that guy that has to start laying people off. We cut hours. We did this. We even did furlough days, which I wasn't even sure how to do that, but we did furlough days. We did everything we could to crank it down as much as we could. I called it circle the wagons.
Yeah.
Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and we got to phase 3. And that's when I was introduced to the movie business coming into town by a really good friend of mine from Tucker. Yeah. And he told me about it, and he said, it's right in your wheelhouse. This is something that y'all can really do well with. And it was just by a God thing that a guy called me like the next day and almost just echoed exactly what he said. Super cool. And then we just jumped into it and just started solving problems for them. Just anything they needed. Yeah, we got it. We can make it happen. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah. And we even had shirts that said no's not an option. Yep. Because that's what we had to, that's how we had to do it. Yeah. And we developed a small team to really concentrate on that part of the business. So that movie business really helped us. And it's the studio supply side of it. We're not meeting movie stars or anything like that. We're just supplying the material they need to build sets like, anything. It was a whole learning curve to figure out what that was and what they needed. It was different material. But we jumped into it. We had a can-do attitude. We had a, just whatever it takes. That's the way we looked at it. Yeah. So we went into that. We've always embraced our remodeling business. We've always embraced a walk-in business. Yeah, you guys have a hardware store here. Yes. You are open to the public, and a lot of yards are not, but you guys love that business. You love the remodeling business. Yes. And your tagline, you guys really go through Count on Cofer. So what does Count on Cofer mean to you? We're going to be here every day, and we're going to do what it takes, and we're going to treat you like, I hate that it's cliche, we're going to treat you like family. Yeah. If you need something, we're going to help you get
in
there.
the best way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the family you like.
Good family members, yes, the one you get along with. And it's not all about dollars and cents and profit on that particular. It's about taking care of people, and it's in. A lot of this bled over from some of the movie stuff we were doing because it was just a matter of just solving problems, making stuff happen. And that just bled over into all of our business after that because we wanted to treat everybody the same way. And so that helped really propel our contract, our walk-in business was doing well. Our remodeling business was doing well. Some of the insurance fire repair type business was doing well. In the meantime, some of the builders were getting back on their feet and trying to get back. Some of them didn't. And so we felt like that was going to be probably not like it was. And so we kind of looked at things like a three-legged stool, that we've got three solid legs. One will back off, one will come back, one will do this, one will do that. As long as we keep all those legs on the ground and keep moving, we'll be okay. And that's how we've looked at it, and that's what's worked with us. Love it. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what it's like working with Katie, your daughter, and now that she's going to be the next generation. Tell me a little bit about that. I enjoy it. I've got a saying that, the best part about my job is I get to work with my family every day. And the hardest part about my job is I have to work with my family every day. I feel that pretty deeply. My husband and I get to experience that. Ask him about it. He'll tell you how much joy it brings. And so sometimes if Katie and I get into a disagreement or something we don't agree on, she goes, are you being my dad now or my boss? I need to know what you are right now. You might want to have like one of those labels, like a dishwasher cleaner, dirty dad or boss. That would come in handy. But it's good. And she's she's and my nephews, and they've all just worked real hard. And I'm so blessed to be surrounded with so many family members all over the place that help me in so many ways.
And it's exciting because, I think you talked a little bit about it's not all about dollars and cents. And one thing that I find with independent businesses, especially those that have been around this long, is you are playing a decades and centuries game. You're not worried about just tomorrow and what the P&L says at the end of the month, because you know that it's got to be about everything going forward decades and decades later. And that means you have to build these long-term relationships with your team, with your vendors, with your customers.
Yes.
And you can't do something that's good for today and it will hurt you in a year or 5 years.
That's right.
How do you think about vendor relationships? Because I know you have an interesting take on it that I love, and you have some really great vendor relationships. So tell me a little bit about how your partners help you.
My dad prided himself on having some direct connections with mills and so on and so forth. And I know that's important to some people, and I know that can help in some ways. But our end goal is to be competitive. And we want people to be able to walk in here and buy material at a competitive price, and we want to make up any difference, or whatever we need to do. We can feel like we can do it with our knowledge and with our service. Yeah. We always try to buy the utmost best quality we can find. So that rounds out the whole package. But when things got so bad, like we were speaking about in 9 and 10, it wasn't that profound, but I just knew that part of what we need to do in the future is really bond and build a bond with our suppliers. Because we don't need to be out on an island by ourselves. We don't need to be waiting on some, I won't name any names, but huge companies that don't really care about us. Right. And if we need something, we need to have a bond and a relationship with the local, the regional or national distributions centers that need our business. Yeah. Just like we need them.
I bet that came in handy in 2020, didn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It absolutely did. So we basically almost married some of these people in these businesses and got a really good relationship with them. And we're there for them and they're there for us. And there's things we can do to make their life easier, and there's a lot they can do to help us. And when COVID was here, absolutely, we didn't run out of material.
Yeah, partnerships are the whole thing in this business.
And I'm not interested in trying to cut through them and get them out of the way so we can save 5% or something somewhere else and not have that connectivity. Right. Because you need that. We all need it. I mean, we need it in our personal life.
100%.
You need to have connectivity.
Yeah, and I think you talked a little bit about AI, and I love AI. I use it a lot. But the one thing that it will not replace, but I think it will help us with, is having more time to do the thing that only us and our human selves can do, which is connect with others and build relationships with people and really show up and give that service. And so I think that it is like, hey, the next generation will use AI in our business, and hopefully it will take away some of these little mundane tasks that need to be done, that then we can go do the thing on the job site or at the desk with someone. You guys have a really open area here in your shop, that we're sitting in, where you have desk and you have people that can come sit down and have a conversation with someone. Tell me a little bit about your team out here on the floor and how they're helping people.
So that gets back, that ties into the COVID thing. Because before COVID, we had years and years and years of we call it the horseshoe. It was bar height, a horseshoe that you had to go in and come out of. And different hardware companies that we'd had over the years had different concepts. And we should try this. We should do this. This height is better than this height. This in the back of the store instead of the front of the store. And we usually always go for a little while and go, that ain't working. We're going to do it our way, and we'd redo it. So we had this sales counter, much like you would see at Napa, okay? And the salesmen were stationed there with their terminal, whatever they had, and they wrote up, somebody walks in, you write to you, and there's somebody right here next to you, whatever. Conversations can be heard from everybody and all that. And it worked. I mean, we didn't know any better. I mean, that just kind of worked, So when COVID came, we had to redo it. You had all the distances. You had to and
plexiglass and mask everywhere.
The mask, the social distancing, the arrows where to walk, and So we had to buy into all that, and we were an essential business, so we were able to stay open.
Sure.
But we had to regulate people coming in and out of the store. We've never done that before. So we had to lock the front doors. We had a side door. We have to hold everybody out there, which then we had to have a tent out there for people, for the rain or whatever.
Yeah.
So we held people out there. We had radios in here. Everybody had a number over their desk. And you'd say, all right, they'd call in, all right, I'm through. We can send them into number 2. So we'd get the message out, send them in, they're going to number 2. So they'd come in and we'd get them, we'd make sure they go to number 2. And they had, we had folding tables with chairs and a couple of chairs, and people would sit at that folding table and they'd write the tickets up. Well, we observed how much, each, a typical common sale, an average sale was going up in value. Now, a lot of that, it's hard to put your arms around it because you don't know if it's because nobody else has it. They can't get there, whatever. But our walk-in type remodeling homeowner, so that side of our trade just took off like a rocket.
Yeah.
And so as COVID started relaxing their conditions, we thought, maybe it's time we have desks. I mean, it's so simplistic, but it was something that we just never did.
Yeah.
So we went to a used office place and bought these, 5 desks that match for once.
Yeah.
And we stacked them in here and put everybody in here at their own nice big desks.
Yep.
And have seats that people can sit at, and it's just been wonderful.
It's really about that personalized service that you guys have experts here. You have people out here that have been here, 30, 40 years?
That's over 40.
And they know what they're talking about. And they know the business. They know the products. They know what you shouldn't do, what you should do. And people crave that today because there's not a lot of people that have a lot of experts.
Exactly.
That's y'all's competitive edge. I love it. And I think that that's something you can't get at, we'll say, a larger retailer down the street. It's very hard to replicate that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we want them to be comfortable. We want them, we got a little dish of chocolate on their desk, and we want people to come in and be comfortable and spend the time they need to spend. Nobody's in a rush. Nobody's trying to get them out of here, and we want them to feel comfortable about what they're buying, and then come back.
Yeah. Conversations and candy are a pretty good selling edge.
You better believe it. Yes.
I love it. And you guys have a lumberyard cat named Lumberjack. So for me, that's the ultimate selling point. He may or may not be in my bag when we leave today. But I do want to play a lightning round. So are you ready for the lightning round of questions?
Maybe. I'll try.
I know you like cars.
Yes.
What's your favorite car you've ever had?
I own my first car was a 1970 Trans Am. So that's got to be probably my favorite.
It's a pretty good one. What color?
It's white with a blue stripe.
Okay. That is awesome. What is your favorite product to sell here in the store? What's your favorite thing?
In the whole place?
In the whole place.
Lumber.
Yeah. Okay. If you could do anything for a day, if you weren't in charge and you could do anything, what would you do?
I love machinery. Okay. And so I used to drive to Memphis a good bit. And they have a huge yard where they unload intermodal trailers. And they have a crane that is probably 4 times the size of this building that goes up and picks up these containers and sets them on and off chassis. And I always said, if I could get a birthday present, let me operate that crane for one day.
You know that the average crane operator in the U.S. is 82, so that could be your second career in about 20 years when you get ready to retire here. You can go drive a crane.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I love that. That's hilarious. I know that I like that you knew so quickly what you would do. Like you've already really thought this one out. What excites you the most about the future of Cofer Brothers?
The next generation, because that's something that I really, I had that opportunity, and it came a little sooner than I wanted it because my dad passed away when he was 70. But and it's so rewarding, and it's I really enjoy what I do. I love coming in here. I love being around the people.
Yeah.
It was when I had my wife passed away a few years ago, and we'd been married 35 years. And when she was in the hospital for quite a while, I came to work because walking in this door made me just feel so. It was therapeutic, and I just wanted to be here because I just felt that closeness of everybody when I was here. And I don't even know how to really explain that thoroughly, other than just to tell you that it's a culture, and it's just we really are an absolute family here.
Yeah,
and you
you
feel
mentioned
it.
your wife. I know you told me last time we talked that she said that she liked the thought of sometimes you do get to choose your family.
Yes.
And I think that's really cool when you do build something that you don't come to because you have to. You could do whatever, you could sell, you could do anything you wanted to. There's so many options in today's market. But you're choosing to come and build the next generation and let them build this with you. And I love that. So I love this business. You know that.
Yeah.
And it's a fun place to be. Maybe I'll come drive a forklift and spin around one day.
That'd be great.
I'm not forklift certified, but I can drive one. So I'm really excited we got to talk. Thank you for your time, Chip.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Grit Blueprint podcast. For more tools, training, and industry content, make sure to subscribe here and follow me on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. To find out more about how Grit Blueprint can help you grow your business, check us out at our website, gritblueprint.com.